My name's Elliot Fletcher and I've been studying at John Moores here now for the last 3 years, and I've been on the Science and Football Bachelor of Science degree. I think it's always a difficult one when you have to try and think about how England are going to perform, because there's always that part of you as a fan that you want them to go on and win, and especially sort of in this build up to it in the last couple of days you certainly get that World Cup fever, if you like. But I think if you strip that back and maybe look at it more neutrally or from the scientific aspect from what we get on a course, I think there's still positive signs. I think it's a young group that's not got much tournament experience, so you could say that that could go against them, but I think there's going to be more of a hunger within the group to succeed and have that desire to go far. And I think if you look at what they've achieved throughout the season, the players involved, I think there's a good chance. I think realistically, I think we'll be getting out of the groups stage quite comfortably, probably make it through the knockout first round, but once we reach the quarterfinals, I think we'll come up with a team that's probably had better tournament experience at this level, and I think that's where we'll struggle. So realistically, I'd say probably quarterfinals, but we can all hope and dream that we'll go on and win. Well, I think obviously Harry Kane has got a big responsibility here. We've seen his goal scoring ability, what he's done at Spurs all season long, and he's got that added responsibility of being the captain of England for this tournament as well. So there's a lot of weight on his shoulders, but I think he's definitely a player that can handle that, and I think he's certainly someone that has to be leading the line, and it's important that England get the ball to him so he can get into them finishing chances, but also get the players around him. So brings me on to another two, sort of Dele Alli. We've seen him link well with Harry Kane while he's been at Tottenham together. Can they replicate that at England? And then also Raheem Sterling, he's played a massive part for City in their title-winning campaign. So can he also replicate that form for England and sort of the system that England are going to play? It looks like he's going to be just behind or just off of Harry Kane. So can he get in and around him to also provide him the opportunities but get on to score himself? So I think those are sort of three key players that I'd look out for. Goalkeeper situation is difficult because sort of haven't got a recognised number one, if you like, but I think it will be Jordan Pickford from Everton. I think sort of it's very close between him, Butland and Pope, but kind of if you look at the seasons that they've had, Pope's probably still just a little bit inexperienced to be starting from the bat, and then between Butland and Pickford it's close, but unfortunately Butland's probably made a slightly few more individual errors over the season, so I think Pickford's had an okay season with Everton. He's faced a lot of shots, and then he's also been working with the goalkeeper coach at England when he was at Everton as well, so I think he'll probably start as number one, and I'd say he's a good keeper to go with. So I think obviously I'll still be enjoying the games as a fan, and that will be the principal thing that I'll look for, but there is certainly a lot of science that will come into it from what I've experienced on this course and from working within the industry myself. So if we look back to one of the modules that we completed last year on the course, it was based around performance analysis, and our whole assessment was around determining the difference between successful and unsuccessful teams that were playing at the European Championships a couple of years ago. So it will be a similar aspect for me when I'll be watching this, so looking at the systems that the different teams will be playing, the shots, where they're taking them from, how many they have in the possession, are they playing a nice controlled game or are they a counter-attacking side? So there's all those aspects, and then as well you can draw upon the other one, so the psychological aspect of being within tournament football. Physiologically, if they've got the luxury to, will they rest players so that they're available for the bigger games, or are they just going to try and bring everyone through and hope for the best after a long season? So there is a lot of interesting things to draw upon from that. No, I think it's massive, sort of, especially when you come to these big tournaments. It's not like a league where you can go and lose a couple of games and then reignite your form later on. It literally is, you got your one chance and you've got to take it. So there's a lot of pressure surrounding the team. So you have to have that mental toughness and resilience of having the expectations of a nation on your shoulders, which I think that's where England potentially have struggled in the past. I think a lot of past players have come out and said that they were afraid to wear the England shirt, whereas I think the group that we have now, with them being a bit younger and maybe a lack of expectation, they've got that freedom to maybe go and enjoy themselves and maybe play a bit more. And I think if you look at the cohesion within the squad, I think Gareth Southgate and the staff around him have done really well, because it looks like a team for once, which is very important for tournament football again, because when you look at the past, there was a lot of club over country, whereas I think everyone that's there, it's a good group of players. They seem happy to be with each other, and I think they all want to drive and do well for England. So yeah, that mental toughness, the cohesion, if there's a couple of bad results, can they bounce back? Motivation is another key factor. You've got to have the right amount of arousal. You can't be too low, you can't be too high. If you look at someone like Joe Hart from a previous big tournament you saw in the tunnel before the game, he was so pumped up and so riled up, and then he went out and had a poor performance on the pitch because his motivation was just too high. So it's about finding that perfect balance. So yeah, I think it does play a massive part. Yeah, I think it has the potential to massively impact a game. I think we've seen it when it's been in some of the cup competitions, like the FA Cup and stuff this year. Like, at times it does really well, but then at times it sort of has been a bit contentious. I don't think it's 100% there yet, but I think it is important that it's brought in, because the stakes are so high that you have to do everything that you possibly can to try and make sure the right decision has been made. And I think only by carrying it forward into these types of tournaments is where we'll learn how to use it properly. So I think for me, it's good to have it for the definite objective sort of information. So was someone offside, yes or no, that stuff is fine. The difficulty comes when you're reviewing like a penalty decision or something, where it's a bit more of a grey area, because at the end of the day that can still come down to someone's opinion of what a penalty is and isn't. So I think there's still more that needs to be done on that part of it, but that will only come through continued practice. So I welcome it, and hopefully it will stop situations like we saw a few years ago when Lampard's goal was disallowed and things like that. So I think for me personally, I think Brazil are definitely have to be up there this time. Their attack force is just so impressive. Their midfield is just solid. Their defence is probably better than what it was in the last tournament, and they've got a much better keeper between the sticks. So for me, they have to be number one. I think it'll be close between them and Germany. I think you can't rule them out. They won the last one comfortably, and they've got a similar squad with similar players, same manager. They know how to do it. They've been there before. And then I think France will also be up and around there, but I think if you look at the pathways, it will be France and Brazil in one of the semi-finals. So I think Brazil will just edge that one if that's what does happen. But you never know, France also have a really strong squad. So I think there's always, the thing with tournament football is there's always unexpecteds, and you're always going to have dark horse teams that do better than everyone predicts. And if we look at the situation that's happened with the Spain squad right now, their manager's just been sacked the day before the tournament's about to begin because of things that he's done to do with club football. So sort of Spain would be one of the favourite teams, but now are they going to struggle because of the change at the top? So that's the thing, there's always going to be something unexpected. You had Iceland, if you think what they did in the Euros, no one expected them to do well. They progressed throughout and knocked out the bigger side in England, so can they do something similar in this World Cup? But yeah, I think tactically some managers will be more switched on, so they'll have organised teams which will be difficult to break down. So that's the hard thing. It's about, sometimes you just need a bit of magic to get through these tournaments.